Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Analyst One and Group IB. Our topic for discussion, as you just saw, is from alert fatigue to autopilot, the future of automated threat mitigation. This is a topic that is close to my heart for many reasons. And before we dig into the subject, let me introduce myself and the lovely people that will be accompanying me today. So my name is Brian Goodrow. I am Analyst One's Director of Customer Support. My team is on the front lines, keeping our threat intelligence platform, or TIP, running and integrated smoothly. My background is in product support and development across a few industries, and I found my home in cybersecurity about 10 years ago. Every week, myself and my team are on the phone with yet another security team who is being asked to do more with less and are looking for scaling solutions. Using Analyst One to automate the automatable stuff and analyze the analysis stuff is something I'm frequently preaching. So to help me talk through that topic today, I have one of my colleagues, James Nixon, our Customer Success Officer, who almost needs no introduction, but here I go anyway. His professional background includes software engineering, enterprise architecture, pretending to be a data scientist, business process design and oversight, team leadership, and now he is the maestro of the Analyst One platform itself. James joined Analyst One almost 8 years ago as the first employee alongside our co-founders. While here, he has contributed to core product capabilities, helped design, plan for advanced features and integrations, usually doesn't break things for processes, sets up and delegates training plans, executions for usage, and ultimately sets up the customer success team for their success. I would also inject that his biggest accomplishment is hiring me onto the team. As nothing else, that's something that I will advocate for me. He loves his role as the CSO for Analyst One because the end users are the ones who makes a difference. He and I are often alongside calls, and we really do care. It's not the platform, it's not the intelligence, it's you all doing the work. He's got immense confidence in his team, the whole company, and the product itself to help analysts understand and act upon the intelligence as we're talking through today. And last thing, if anything goes wrong, either with the platform or during this webinar, you can always hit the Blame James button as hard as you can, as both our customers and our internal staff loves to do. Thank you, James, for being here with us today. From the Group IB side, I have Anastasia. Anastasia brings over a decade of experience researching financially motivated cybercrimes, specializing in tracking and analyzing advanced persistent threat, APT, activities conducted by nation-state hackers. She leads her team in uncovering evolving tactics, techniques, and procedures, exploring CNC infrastructure, and conducting in-depth malware analysis. Beyond all that phenomenal research, Anastasia is a prominent member of the cybersecurity community. She actively contributes to media and trade interviews, webinars, conferences such as OTISAC, FSISAC, and GovWare. You may have seen her there. If not, I recommend you look. Anastasia's unique combination of expertise and engagement solidifies her position as a leading figure in cyber intelligence. And again, thank you so much for being here with us today, Anastasia. And last, rounding out the team is Anton from Group IB. Anton brings extensive experience at the intersection of cybersecurity product strategy and business growth. He leads the development and commercialization of threat intelligence, digital risk protection, and attack surface management solutions for the product team at Group IB, focusing on transforming intelligence from, again, that static insights into real actionable incomes that reduce measurable business risk, right? A lot of business stuff to say, doing the work. His work centers on helping enterprises operationalize that threat data, prioritize remediation, and align security investments with real-world impact. Beyond all that lovely product leadership, Anton regularly advises customers and partners across the Americas on cyber risk strategy, speaks at industry events and webinars like this, and shares practical approaches to making security programs more outcome-driven, scalable, and aligned with executive and board-level objectives. Thank you so much for being with us, Anton. So before we get into the fun stuff, just a little bit of housekeeping. For those who are with us today, we'll have a little bit of guided discussion that I'll be pushing us through. If you have any questions, if you have any comments throughout, please pepper them into chat. We're streaming on a couple different platforms. So whatever you see in front of you, type in whatever thoughts are in your mind. It'll make its way over to us. We will have some dedicated Q&A time at the end, but if there's something good that pops out, our moderation team will pop that up and we can inject that question right as we're talking. So housekeeping aside, let's go ahead and get into the fun part. So, in my world, very limited among the titans of the industry that I have with me today. I think of CTI, cyber threat intelligence, like drinking from a fire hose, right? Even just looking at a single paid intel source, you're dealing with potentially hundreds of millions of IOCs and thousands of finished intelligence reports. Once you multiply that by multiple paid vendors, plus all the wide variety of open source OSINT intelligence out there, some good, some not so great, the problem with threat intelligence very quickly shifts from how do I get the intelligence to how do I sort through all the intelligence? So, James, this is something you and I have talked about quite a bit. We've consulted private and public security teams across every industry. Talk to us about the realities. Talk to us about how you generate, collect, and act on threat intelligence in the modern world. How do we get to that final goal, that guiding star of automatable intelligence?
Yeah, that is a really well set up scenario that we face because even when you get high quality intelligence producers like Group IB, even their ability to research and produce things can overwhelm a standard CTI team. And all this well-meaning intelligence production, it's unfortunate, but it does create a challenge for CTI teams to really communicate to strategic leadership why we need to focus on more of an aggressive defensive strategy, and then getting, of course, down to the actionable, practical raw data behind it. Working not in a Intel production shop, but with you providing the platform, it gives us a bit of a privilege to see a little bit more about how intelligence gets collected and understood and applied from a different lens. Since we don't have to sit in the seat, we don't have some CISO yelling at us about the latest malware or exploit, we get to pause a little bit longer. I kind of see it operating in a bit of tiers as a conceptual way to approach, because if you can't convince your organization in terms of your processes and your people, especially those decision makers like your CISO, to say like, hey, we want to actually get to an aggressive, proactive defensive strategy, like you're not going to get the approvals to get that in place. Like it comes down to unfortunate brass tacks of like if the CTI team is advising this kind of proactive defense, the detection engineers don't have the agreement to do it before there's an event. They only want to do reactive hunts. You're not going to move things forward. So working on down, like at the top level, yes, there's a lot of data, but you do need to kind of start at the conceptual level at the top, in my experience and opinion. You want to look at the known actors affecting your peers and yourself. You want to look at the malware CVEs and TTPs, like MITRE ATT&CK that they're using, to create a kind of perspective of where the risk possibly exists for your organization. So as you start to communicate this narrative to drive toward the approvals to get toward automated defense, you kind of want to just speak to like what's the potential of attack against you. That not only gets like CISO and strategic thinkers to see like, okay, this is a real thing. Let's go through the organizational change to really lean on trusted partners, to lean into more automation. It also then gives you the prioritization basis you need, so that when you get to actually doing execution later, you know how to focus yourself. So like you said, to get through the noise, I need to get down to what's practical. Kind of once you get to
so James, it's interesting. Let me just inject there and make sure I'm restating what I'm hearing. One of our favorite tools is that it sounds like the objective here isn't to start from a big bunch of intelligence, but really start from the strategic objectives and make sure you've got your in-house in order before you start going through that pile of data.
That's correct, because like one of the things you don't want to do is wind up like, well, let's just shove all the known IOCs that we think might be associated to a bad thing into a firewall.
We've never seen that happen.
Yeah, I've seen it happen more than I would like. And like the key thing to build on that question specifically is, as a CTI team trying to operationalize these insights, like from Anton and Anastasia, like they know what they're doing is good and reliable. Your team needs to build trust in it over time. And so honestly, starting a little smaller, a little more focused, and building on that narrative is going to give you a better story as a CTI team, and better, of course, successes by having less false positives. And another way to focus into that is when you start to get that alignment of, yeah, you know what, we as the organization are agreeing, we want to lean into trusting our partners and vendors a little more. Starting at ironically, one of the best places to start that conversation isn't at the IOC, is at things like the CVE, the vulnerability. I can't explain why, but when you're trying to bridge that practical daily reality to executive level thinking, for some reason, the vulnerability makes the most sense. And I'm not sitting in the seat daily. Somebody who sits in the seat can probably explain it. And that's why Anton and Anastasia are here to fill my gaps. But the ability to communicate this vulnerability doesn't just have a number on it. APTs that hit our industry are proven to take advantage of it. Here's the recent reporting. Here's the trends. Here's the recent IOCs that are in the same reports about them. Getting to that communication point, and then doing that triage has been a great way I've seen to shift that organizational change. But we do want to get to the point where your IDS, your IPS, your SIM, your EDR, your et cetera, is as proactively as actioning your signatures and your indicators. So because I can go long, I'm going to go a little faster here to make sure we get enough time for conversation. When you have that perspective of here's the wealth of information that I have, the overload, here's the stuff inside of it that has a probability of affecting me, that small subset. And then out of that small subset, where is my highest degree of confidence? Like the sources I trust the most, the decisions where I want to put my own team's eyes on it or not, do they come from a trusted partner like Group IB? Do they come from a sharing partner like through an ISAC? These things should carry a higher degree of weight and are a safer place to start, because that's what then gets you into good quality TTP signatures and IOCs that can then get you moving, and then move into ideally automation decisions of with these data points, like a signature or like an indicator from these publishers that I've determined are trusted, with these variables such as known APTs that have risk or known TTPs that have risk. These are the things I'm going to want to go ahead and put into more of a proactive defense, ahead of the attack. That's our goal with our partner network here. We want to defend you before the event occurs. And I'm speaking to our goal and ethos, but also the concepts, because we do face organizations that hear that and they're like, no, it's not the way we do it. You got to create a ServiceNow ticket to get all this stuff done. And that's a good workflow for auditing, but not a good workflow to ensure that the data is defending you before the attack moves from your partner to you. And I know indicators are like the least fun thing to talk about and everything cyber related. They're the lowest pyramid of pain. But the reality is, if you focus on getting especially those into a high quality automated state, it really does a great job closing the loop, going all the way back up to the strategic thinking. Because then the first conversation, you can talk about potential risk. When there's practical IOCs that are actually denied or audited or deployed, prove attempts or real risk. We talk to customers all the time that having this proactive IOC awareness, even not on the blocking but the discovery, they're discovering APTs that are scanning them before they do the actual attack, and therefore they're able to make defensive adjustments at the signature and TTP level ahead of time. And this kind of speed of using those kind of data points, it requires a timeliness that you've got to get the data points actioned within hours or days of the intelligence report that provides them going out the door. So I realize this is high level, but these concepts are going to be what let you move from we're not aggressive or proactive at all into how do I convince my peers to be aggressive? What are my right way of thinkings? And get these defenses and the right tools in place, and then build on it to get your SIM and SOAR even more effective in more harder behavioral level detections. Because when you clean house at this level, it makes the whole capability that much better. And of course, you're getting approval now from your organization to do it, and you can tell back to all the way up your chain to your CISO or equivalent, hey, you gave us approvals. Here's the effect of those things. Here's the defensive that we've mitigated. Here's the things we didn't just warn you might happen. Here's the things we actually discovered proactively to get us into a better defensive place.
Right. And so thank you for that. And no need to apologize or call this out as being high level. I think it's important to start at the high level with this, because that's what we've seen is effective, right? People going in, like I see over and over again, people going in and just, as I called out at the beginning, downloading the entire list of IFCs, the entire list of reporting that's available, and maybe only 20% of that's actually relevant to them. So again, it turns into that signal to noise problem of how do you end up getting the intelligence that's most important to you. And just to summarize your feedback for the folks who may have just joined in here, it's really understand what's important first and seek out intelligence on those topics, on those CVEs, on those APTs, on those TTPs, to make sure that you have the most important intelligence on the most important risks to your business. Does that sound more or less right?
Yeah, that's dead right. It's almost like we work together and pay attention. But what we've seen some of the cyber intelligence shops really do over the last few years is they've actually started to adopt the concept of priority intel requirements. which is aligning to more traditional intelligence tradecraft that began in the military, which is very effective. Because when you define our...
And James, to pause you there, that priority intelligence requirements, those are PIRs that I hear referred to, and even in this description, right?
Correct. Yeah, those PIRs let you then, when they're defined, that lets you help make the better decisions on how to action your intelligence. And when your organization agrees on them, it helps make some of those decisions about, we are going to lean into a more automated delivery mechanism of our defenses. We're not going to require a human in the loop. We're going to deal with high volume because it aligns to things that we know have risk, and we know we need to defend against, and we know we need to justify up the chain that we're ready for.
Beautiful. All right, James, I bullied you enough. Thank you so much. Now I want to kick over to Anton for the time being. So Anton, what we were talking about, a big theme there is saying we have intelligence in our bucket now. We have got this intelligence. How do we make intelligence actionable? I know that's something that you have a lot of experience and a lot of passion about. Can you talk to us about making that intelligence actionable in the field?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. And I think that's exactly the right place to start, because when we talk about alert fatigue, and I know everyone on this call probably has felt it, it's not just a nice problem to solve. It's the thing that actually breaks security teams. You can have the best detection in the world, but if your analysts are drawing in thousands of alerts and millions of IOCs you mentioned before, most of them are noise. You're not more secure, you're just more exhausted. So here's the irony: the more tools you add, the worse it gets. So every new feed, every new scanner, every new dashboard, every new solution like Group IP, it's more signal, sure, but it's also exponentially more noise. So at the same point, your SOC team isn't doing security anymore. They are doing triaging the data management, not security fighting. So that's not what you hired them for, aren't you? So let's talk specifically about threat intelligence here, because this is where the gap is the most painful. TI is supposed to be the brain of your security operation, and the data itself, it's incredible. We are pulling from over 60 sources, underground forums, dark web marketplaces, closed Telegram channels, botnet data, C2 servers, compromised credentials, and more and more and more. And the coverage is deep. The context is rich. And it maps to MITRE ATT&CK metrics. It's all there, but here's the honest question: what happens after the alert? Your TI platform tools, they tell you there is a compromised account belonging to your organization. Maybe this API call goes to your orchestration solution, to your CM or SOAR, and maybe you have internal playbook, but maybe not. So great, you have an alert, and now what? Your analyst reads the alert, creates a ticket, figures out which team owns that system or that process, sends them an email, or creates a ticket, waits for response, follows up, maybe escalates. That's not intelligence-driven security. That's intelligence generating paperwork. So same story with indicators of compromises, same with vulnerability exposed data, same with brand mentions on underground forums. The intelligence is actionable in theory, but in practice, the action part is still entirely manual, and manual doesn't scale. So now what's interesting is that we in Group IB, we already solved this problem in one domain, and this is digital risk protection. Our digital risk protection tool, it's a tool for hunting for phishing, scam, fraudulent infringements, and everything like this. So think about what DRP does. It detects a phishing website impersonating the brand of a company. Then, this is a key part, it doesn't just tell you as a customer about it. It acts automatically. Detection, verification, takedown request, follow-up, resolution, and even digital risk intelligence to understand what was the campaign around it. The entire workflow runs end-to-end. So without a human even touching it, 24/7. So pre-authorized takedowns in hours, not days. Millions of resources monitored continuously. AI getting smarter, identifying scam patterns before they even launch. That's not just a product. That's a philosophy, and that's the way to do it. That's the principle that every finding should have a clear, automated path to resolution. Alert comes in, alert goes out. No guess, no waiting, no ticket sitting in queue for 3 days or whatever. And the results speak for themselves. The ERP has fundamentally changed how organizations handle their external digital threats. And we want to move for the same way with threat intelligence, with cyber threat intelligence. So here's where we are going. And I'm going to be direct about this because it's, I think, the most important thing I'll say today. We want to take what we in Group IB, together with Analyst One in our corporation, already proved with our DRP works, right? The fully actionable automated response model. We want every alert be not noise, but real actionable button, like a ready plug-and-play playbook. And we wanted to apply across the entire threat intelligence class of solution, entire threat intelligence product type. So every single alert type, not just phishing takedowns, everything. And as an example, compromised accounts found on the dark web, the system should automatically verify it, assess the risk, trigger a password reset or account lockout internally in the customer's infrastructures, notify the right team, and not generate a PDF report, but do all these security measures and reactions just by the understanding of what is the risk and what was the incident. Indicator of compromise by your infrastructure, sure, automatic enrichment, automatic blocking rule, push to your firewall or CM, automatic case creation with full context, vulnerability on exposed assets, all right, prioritized the real-world exploitability matched against active threat campaigns with a remediation workflow triggered on the spot. So this is what we are following. And on the product level, this means something very specific. We are moving towards a model where every single alert and every single indicator in the platform comes with two things attached to it. Full context, who is the threat actor? What is the campaign? How it works? What's the risk of your specific environment? And a solution playbook. Not just a text, but maybe also a plug-and-play button just to fix it all. A clear step-by-step response path tailored to that exact finding. Not a generic recommendations, right? A playbook that tells you, here's what needs to be happen, here's the priority, here's the sequence, may I do it? This is how we see it. And this isn't a 5-year roadmap slide or like 10 years in the future threat intelligence market. No, it's something that we're building right now. And it's something what we together with Analyst One will be bringing to the market very soon. And this is our philosophy in the future development of the product. And to bring it all back from alert fatigue to autopilot is not just the slogan of this webinar. It's a design principle, a product principle, which we all should be following, right? And this is what we wanted to talk about today. Why we decided to move into it. And Anastasia is here for that, to show you the technical part, the technicalities of how these decisions were made and why. And why real threat intelligence, being the best threat intelligence, even being the best threat intelligence in the world, will always be noisy until we change our philosophy and our approach, how we build it.
Yeah, so I really like that. And just to kind of restate and summarize what I heard there, it's all about ensuring that with alerts, we also include, we as the intelligence provider community, also include a playbook, a run book, or not only just the context of that, because that's becoming the standard, the baseline, right? I think everyone is expecting context to come with this data because we don't trust data that doesn't come without context. We need context to know how important it is. And alongside that context, having a full playbook that could potentially automate itself or potentially just look for that thumbs up verify button. That is a workflow that we see a lot. And to echo back to something I mentioned at the beginning there, we're constantly seeing teams asked to do more with less, right? And so what you're describing to there, that is a force multiplier. That allows someone to say, let me use my intelligent brain, my human eyes that are being paid to do analysis and security work in order to say, Group IB is recommending this. This is the type of alert. This is the specific APT it came from and how they recommend handling it. And this is the playbook that is even potentially specific to my infrastructure. That's the golden, that's exactly what we're talking about here. So Anton, thank you so much. That is a really good run through there, and a beautiful cake. You almost took my job for me, or it's Anastasia. So we've talked about getting your house in order to make sure that you know what intelligence is important to you. We've talked about once you have that intelligence, making sure that you know what to do with it, making sure that it doesn't just get added to a pile, that it is included with a run book, included with some automation information alongside the intelligence. Let's talk about that start of the intelligence, right? Obviously, I trust Group IB implicitly with my life, but for folks who might not know exactly how you do the analysis work to generate this intelligence, or for folks who may be doing their own investigations and hunts on their own, talk to us about the signal to noise challenge. Talk to us about how you in the analysis world, Anastasia, handle those problems.
Okay, first of all, thank you that you believe and give us your life to be protected. So we are doing our best to make it possible. So, anyways, guys, today when something goes wrong, I already started to thinking about is this a sabotage from hackers on me, or something like somebody tried to interrupt my speech here, or the boys wanted to have their own playground here without me. So sorry with my internet connections in some cases. So I'm just like even start thinking about what's going on with who is interrupting with me. But yeah, speaking about the noise. Let's start with the simple observation, I would say. So today, the problem in security is not the lack of the threat intelligence. It's the overwhelming of all the information that we have from it. So most organizations have invested heavily in collecting this data. So we have multiple feeds, sources, some internal telemetry, some external intelligence that we obtain, etc. That all of this make it this platform, which already all of us saying like heavy, but this is something we like all of us name it like a data lake, so threat intelligence data lake. There's everything put inside, not only threat intelligence itself, but others solutions too give us all this information there inside. And it feels like all this critical signal they burned there inside of this earth on them, what's that you should drag in inside, like and search in this all called like or the money which is found inside, like with something which be useful for you. Yes, yeah, like a Klondike, like what the goal is and etc. So, and what the analysts like. We are all started as analysts. Like what analysts do? They scrolling, searching, doing filtering, reading a lot. Sometimes like rechecking, redouble, resend someone. Do you see this? Should we focus on this? Like spending the whole bunch of time to try to, in the first place, understand is it valuable to check or not. So this is what we started to struggle off with building the first like kind of filtering system, and this is what. Which we understand that this kind of filtering system doesn't work right now. Why so? So the first filtering system is like hunting rules, which is named in most of the companies already implemented. And speaking about this, I would say that the hunting rules system, they're great. They like working, that you make you focus it on some specific threat, but they are like a data-centric model. So only like the information you want to obtain. Like for example, I don't know, I want to know about the all ransomware attack and the USA, which come into the financial threats. Okay, you will see what? You will see notification about this, possibly in the email notification, some alarms in the platforms, something will be integrated to your CM systems and others, like when they will, like this information pops up. What happens next? There's no other process. There's always manual, like triage, prioritization, assigning, tracking. All of this activity will be on the shoulders of the analyst. And we know how the project management work. If it's not like going through the process, somehow somebody missed the checklist, what to do, what to point, to whom it goes, where it's like going another way in the middle of the process. So you will have the alert fatigue, some missed signals, slow response in time when you expect, and somebody will interrogate with all the signals itself. That's why we think that we should go through this data-centric to the incident-centric, which slightly Anton already mentioned where we go like with the playbooks, like we judge everything like the incident, but incident itself, it's not that the like information pop up from the hacktivists who claim it about the attack. No, it's something that give a lot of the context and one simple stuff. So if there's like the compromise, okay, compromise, we already checked your data, like validated it, etc. So you should change the password, etc. But where it was presented, possibly which vulnerability was connected to obtain this credential, all these kind of things going through the one incident. So, and specifically the incident itself have the like inside structured hierarchy. So it's have defined status. So what you need to do and move it to like done, like you responded on this. It has priority. If it's vulnerability, is it compromise? Is that like a claim of the hacker? Or like, I don't know, somebody whispering, for example, on the Brian ears, they say like, oh my God, we will attacking you soon. Something like this. Yeah, like who, how, when, do I believe this guy or what I'm doing? Like, yeah. So this is like will be a risk inside. So you will have the assigned owner. So the TI team inside who's using the product itself, it can be have separate divisions, for example, APT division or risk management division, etc. And all of them, they should be connected to some specific incident. So me, myself, I don't know, as a statist person who trying to interrogate more information about how many compromises our campaign was possible to make, like to detect during this quarter, I don't have any concerns about how many others like hacktivists mentioned something. So I should be specifically connected on some specific thread. So it will be a signed owner who going to the prospect of the whole signal. It will be context inside all the enrichment. So if you find there was a claim, then you find that this claim was because of you previously detected, for example, sales and dark web. Then you detected in the business email protection some alarms about this email, how it was like compromised, etc. So all this like a line inside, and especially the meanings for the management perspective of this incident, you will see complete history of action, who did what from your team, which like phases this incident goes, and how we like enrich this. So it gives a lot of the possibilities to teammates inside working with the platform itself and working through the platform through all different teammates in the same company and see the whole view. So you will investigate incident, you will assign responsibility, you will collaborate, and you will track all the resolutions. But like how what we name this like incident management center, it's like IMC, I will be short name it. So how it's like working with signal to noise. So first we like I name it like we eliminate orphan data, so nothing just sits in the feed anymore. So it's every detection becomes like an incident. Second, aggregation. So we group related events in one single specific incident. So you shouldn't like work with 15 different alerts, which just seems like not connected or maybe connected. What I should do with this, like how do manual work with this, how many analysts should work with this, all the like signals. So it will do the aggregation. Third is like multi-trigger correlation. So a single rule that you combine with signals from different intelligence domains, for example, like as I said, dark web activity plus vulnerability activity, which increase the relevance of all of these incidents. So you already have like your risk score going the upper than you only have a one mentioned in the dark web. So you will have the prioritization, it's scalable. So for 1 to 10, which like it's flexible, I would say, because like 3 it's somebody like whispering to the Brian ears. 10 will be like we already see somebody knocking on your door, like please do something. So they will have a different prioritization in this case. And in the last, as I mentioned about the ownership and accountability, you will go to the specific team who will work with this risk, who will do this through the incident, and you will know what the end of the story was. Like, did we fix it? Fix it how? Should we recheck it? Should we do like a reteaming or something again with this? So specifically for this, with automatization, a lot of like a prioritization of this kind of data feeds, I guess. So my perspective as an analyst who's struggling with a lot of different kind of data is part of like AMC is much better with the like incident viewing, this like triggers and etc. stuff than like in the workshop itself is we're speaking about the project plans, then like something alerting notification a lot. So even the companies itself, they liking to obtain sometimes more emails, the better. They have different folders that they sorted inside of the emails to see specific threat. It's not working. So you're not alarming in all of this, all these signals spreading somehow, all that's missing. That's why we're trying to go through this model of the hunting rules to this AMC approach, and we like suggestion to using to test it, to like working with this a lot, and like it's really helps teams reduce alert like fatigue, improve response time, and scale their operations through the scaling headshot. So guys, I hope you see like how I like to speak about this topic, because really it's make my own life easier. I would say if each research, when you go through, you can remember your first research, how you do it, and how many. You can look in my browser history in some cases, and you see all these open windows a lot, and people saying like, looking, how do you find something here? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. So yeah, already has same feeling. So guys, please go with us with this incident-centric approach. We will guide you there with Analyst One.
Right. Yeah. I having blamed James for having lots of tabs open all the time. You are not alone. Anton, I don't know. Are you a crazy tab mess person, or do you keep your tabs organized?
No, I'm trying to organize everything, but I'm just trying. Doesn't mean I'm successful.
Okay. Well, you guys, we'll have another webinar hosted by yours truly on how to organize your tabs effectively, and you guys can all attend to that one. I'll be your speaker. Okay. So thank you, Anastasia. Again, I love the background insight, and also the knowledge about the IMC there. What I really pulled out of your chat there was focusing on incident centric, right? You said that word, that term a few times, but we're not just talking ServiceNow tickets inside an 1,000-item queue, right? That's alert fatigue. They need to have the context. They need to have suggested actions, related items, and crucially, something you mentioned is keeping them ranked. That is something that I always see is alerts just going into a queue and everything's the same. And if you do not have a good priority system that you actually follow and that you actually trust, then you're just going to end up in the same bucket that you always have. Yeah, so context, ranking, suggestions, really good stuff, Anastasia. Okay, so we are getting close to time here, but I want to wrap up a little bit before we jump into Q&A. So we've talked a lot about what you need in order to make things happen, right? You need to have your ducks in a row. You need to know what's important to you. You need to have your trusted sources lined up ahead of time. You need to make sure that you have an automatable with suggestions, with playbooks, with things that you know to do. So it's not just an alert with someone having to think, what do I do every time? You're looking towards just verify, move on, give you a thumbs up, verify, move on. James, verifying data and moving on with your life is something that you and I often deal with in Analyst One. So once we've got all this in place here, let's say that we've had all these meetings, we've got our sources, Group IB is integrated into everything that we're dealing with. Analyst One as a centralized intelligence source for automation, our single source of truth. How do we use that? How do we actually get from the talking to the doing?
Yeah, so the kind of connecting the dots, right? Working first from some of the things Anton said and some of the things Anastasia said. When Anton talked about those quality outputs, the kind of the research that they do, the higher fidelity things they produce, that exactly lines what I was talking about earlier with confidence. Like that kind of output where it's tailored to your organization and your industry, it's researched by their tools and teams, it's produced for you in a way that you can trust it. That's exactly the kind of high quality intelligence that you need to start your overall higher fidelity, higher pace defense and dev strategy with. And that connects perfectly then into the way our platform works, because then our platform can be an enabler of that intel. And it can also then, using Group IB as kind of your starting linchpin, you can then use it to start going and discovering related pieces of data from the OSINT world, from your own incidents. I think one of the things that people do miss is their internal hunt operations, their internal events are necessary pieces of intelligence in how we operate. And like one of the most powerful things we've seen is you bring in a high quality partner, like Group IB has discussed today, and then you immediately go and retroactively correlate, like, hey, what are they telling us about? What have we seen before? Now, like in a few steps, intersecting platform history and the high quality feed. Now you can immediately know, like, going back to that strategic point, yeah, this is where we actually defended against risk or had risk that we didn't know before. And so, like, when Anastasia starts talking about incidents, that's that context. The fact, like, imagine how powerful it is when you wind up and you walk into the office one day and you made these decisions and you find out that there's a high fidelity incident that's already been reported and managed for you by the research capabilities of, like Anastasia talked about. And because of the level of fidelity that's in there, your tools have already taken the appropriate action based on the incident context, either deploying the mitigations or automating that hunt search for you through SIM or SOAR. And now you're applying those oftentimes limited resources, because let's be honest, some SIMs and SOARs charge you by how often you run a query or how much data you store. Like, we got to be resource focused here. It's not just firewalls can only block so many thousands of IP addresses. Like, we need to be focused on technical resources and human resources. But we believe that this kind of focus is achievable today with this kind of partnership, because then the narrative can shift from, oh no, we have a massive crisis, to while you're drinking your coffee, you find out how many things have already been taken care of for you. And now you're elevating the narrative of, yes, there was an attempt. Yes, there was risk. However, because of these decisions we made, the risk was mitigated. I mean, there's always some being transparent. There's always some 0 day that's going to come out, and unfortunately some first victim. But when we have this kind of interconnection where we're sharing with the right partners, we're trusting the right research teams, we can minimize how often those 0 days spread because of high quality research and proactive action. And that's the kind of stuff that we're talking to today. And when you're doing this, again, your own defense against such things through better policies and procedures and anomaly detection adds together. So that's kind of Brian, the why I think it matters so much to have that ethos we started from, of moving away from fatigue into that proactive defense, into automated defense, and why talking with Anton and Anastasia today is so relevant, because they're speaking to the actual intelligence production, and then we of course see ourselves as a viable partner platform to help enable all of that intersected conversation, and then in the end tell the narrative of, yeah, all this stuff happened, and here's our risk posture from it, and here's how we're going to keep defending against it in the future.
Beautiful. Wrapping it up. So thank you, James. That was a good landing of the plane, as we so often say, on this discussion of making things automatable. Beautiful. This has been the most emotive webinar I've been to in years. This more or less concludes the narrative of what we wanted to talk to today, right? We started with how do we get from alert fatigue into automation. We've been talking about incident centricity. We've been talking about quality in your data source. We've been talking a lot about context around playbooks and around pre-planned stuff. At this point, we are going to shift into the peer Q&A portion of it. We've had a few questions that have already been submitted across our different platforms that we have grabbed out. And this one I particularly enjoyed because it is a problem that I, on the technical engineering support front, deal with frequently. I swear in the last couple of years, it has gone from dealing with gigabytes to terabytes, and petabytes is on the horizon. So this is really for all of you, because I'm sure that everyone has opinions here. Why is there so much intelligence to anyone here? I'd love to.
Who will be first? Who will be first? Let's fight for the question.
Okay. You're unmuted.
Okay, I'm first who started speaking about it. Okay, it's no worries. You can add everything that you have, guys, and me. So in this case, so first of all, because the landscape has evolved, so each year the new group, the new platform, where the hackers speaking about or sharing the data, etc., they make wide. Even if we close someone, I don't know, Steelers, for example, we like went through the red line Steeler or closed Luma Steeler, etc. They found the places where they would go to communicate. So there was a breach forum. Okay, we seized the breach forum. Did we seize all the hackers? Unfortunately, no. I expect some days it will happen, of course, but not for now. What they do, all the hackers who stayed like in the live, like swimming and doing like where I should go, They found rockets, they found Discord, they found the Telegram. There is like 3 more resources to one which was previously. So they're trying to find a way to sneak around, to have a more possibilities, etc. That's why like data sources exploded. That's why more intelligence we obtained them. Threat actors, they scale themselves, they reuse infrastructure, automate attacks. They generate huge volumes of some indicators, which like make multipliers of all the data that we already have in the system. And third, like a most platform prioritize, I would say, the collections over the curation. So still there is a lot of the media who say like we catch 10 million strings from the data breaches. Another side was like we 7. Another one like we 55 millions. Somebody say 1 billion. What does it say to you actually? Actually nothing. It's to say if it's not there something which say why it's changing from the like 7 to 55. What's huge difference happened? This is what the context we say like we give them. That's why like the reason I see what you guys see. James, please, I want to know what you're thinking about it.
So I love what you said about the different reality of the landscape, because I don't think and Brian, you talked about the volume. I don't think the volume of intelligence can reduce. When you have this consideration of timeliness, like we need to get intel about a recent breach out quickly, because otherwise a new ransomware variant spreads faster than we want it to. Some intelligence providers really focus on just an IOC stream and with a few pieces of metadata. Other intelligence providers like here at Group IB focused on not just the IOCs, but wrapping them in incident context so that there's the ability to move it forward quickly, but with context. And there's the need for vulnerability reports, spot reports, APT profiles, in-depth research, summaries. Like all of these pieces of intelligence as they're produced are still needed. And so now it comes down to the decisions like we talked about today. Humans do need to intersect and understand with some of those. The more strategic in-depth reports, the more in-depth summaries, the kind of and find trends as analysts over time for the spot reports, the incidents. But that's where I think why it's so important to focus on this automation front. All of the intelligence should be actioned. Sometimes the action is a better firewall rule. Sometimes the action is a better SIM hunt. Sometimes the action is a better advisory report to your CISO and your team. Sometimes it's the bad news of, hey, our PIRs suck. We need to completely redo them because the landscape has completely changed in the last 5 years. All of those things are actions. And we strongly believe that the things that machines can do, machines should do based on the intelligence that's produced, so that the things that only humans can effectively do are done by humans, and all of this stuff is happening in a timely enough way. And that's kind of why there's so much intel. I realize I shifted completely away from directly answering the question, but building on what Anastasia was saying, that there's so much perspective that's needed on the reality of how wide the cyber threat the cyber threat attack landscape is, that we have to have an equally wide and deep cyber threat intelligence landscape. Otherwise, we will simply let abuses and attacks happen. And so it's like we got to just accept that we have to respond in kind with a volume and breadth and depth of intelligence, given the volume, breadth, and depth of the attack surface. Otherwise, we will simply allow breaches to occur. Therefore, we have to build our tools, procedures, and selves around, okay, this is how much we need to know. Let's make ourselves capable of doing that.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and stop that question there then so we can get to some other ones. But what I'm hearing there is that there's lots of intelligence because there's lots of stuff happening, right? We have to focus on what's important to us. To detechnalize things, I'd say that the home break-in in Chicago does not have a ton of reliance to my home security, right? I don't need to be including that with my crucial data. I need to be worrying about things that are located around myself here in lovely Portland, Oregon. So we'll move on to the next question then. This is one that I personally thought of and submitted, wink, wink, because this came up to my mind while I was talking to you, Anastasia, and you, Anton, as well. So I'll kick to you first here. How do we avoid blind spots when we're switching from a broad strategy on intelligence to something incident-centric, right? We're talking about, we only need to look at the things that are, related to our incidents, only related to the things that are worry to us. How do we avoid getting smacked out of something from left field, like, for instance, Striker?
So the thing is to be like more straightforward. It's not something that we avoid all others intelligence that we have in the portal. It's still there. It's still presented. You have access to the raw data. You have access to all the research we already have. But it happens like we change the approach after the detection. So when the happens of this threat, so we structuralize you how to operationalize it. Sorry, just little many words happening in the evening. So specifically, you will still have access to the actors, indicators, TTPs, all the reliability, dark web, etc. So everything that is there presented. But what you are doing, you define rules and correlations aligning to your peers, like something that is relevant to you, your threat landscape, who is attacking your technology, who is attacking your industry, who is attacking you yourself, maybe your clients' partners, because you already have third parties who can be attacked too, and it's relevant to see. So, and you after you find a first rule, you will adjust it all the time because the threat landscape changing, because of the hackers, their approach changing. You should be on top knock and seeing what is happening. So you will do this correlation. So you aggregate and personalize signals instead of threatening everything equally, saying that somebody claims and that the unique intelligence which we obtain about the group and the detection shouldn't be in the same place. Something should be higher in priority than another one. So there won't be any blind spot in this, but it's the prioritizing of this will be different. And because you will ensure that only validated and contextual, why I choose these strange words? Oh my God. somebody
We got it. Yeah, the context.
Some context in events which becomes more valuable for the incident themselves than which is a normal alert. So you will turn in the detection logic. You will visibility to all the data that we have, not just the incidents, and you will have these feedback loops from the incident outcomes. So you already answer it on some incidents, and you will see what the changes was Is it happened something? Did we change our policy, how it works, how the approach the next similar incident, etc. So you will be avoid some incident in the future, but they will be replaced in other prioritization. So I think there won't be blind spots in my opinion, of course.
Good call. Anton, I want to kick to you if you have anything on that, since you've been very patiently quiet as we've been talking in the background.
Yeah, sure. I had an answer for the previous one, but you decided to skip me. But all right, I will answer that one. So the blind spots, but nobody needs to worry about except us. I mean, Group IB and Analyst One, us, who are providing this finished threat intel, because that's our job. The whole point of buying a threat intelligence vendor is that you are outsourcing that problem to someone whose entire engineering effort is to dedicated to solving it, right? So when we talk about moving to an incident-centric model, like Anastasia said, I'm fully agreed. We are not switching, we're not moving. The raw data is still aware. We are not asking the client to sacrifice coverage. We are saying we, as a vendor, are building the technology layer that maintains full spectrum collection, every source, every indicator, every single, while delivering it in a way that's focused, contextual, and actionable. The broad to precise translation happens inside the platforms, inside the solution, inside the technology, not inside the analyst board on the customer's end. That's literally what the client is paying for, not data, not dashboards. They are paying for us to solve the engineering challenge of see everything, miss nothing. Of course, it's not reachable in that 100% way, right? But only surface what matters with a clear path to action is matters to a customer. And if switching to an incident-centric approach created blind spots, that would be a failure of our technology and our approach and not an acceptable trade-off. So the short answer is blind spots don't happen because we don't turn anything off. The collection stays total. What we're building is smarter processing, smarter prioritization, smarter delivery. The client's experience gets sharper and more focused. The underlying coverage doesn't lose a single data point. That's the product challenge we are solving. And that's exactly what a TI vendor should be doing. All of them, not just us.
And I will just hop in that if I can. Like what Anton's saying resonates with my engineer and time-saving heart. Like it's about focus. There's things that need higher degree of focus first. When you develop trust and focus on this incident-centric approach that we talked to today, it gets you a higher fidelity cyber defense reality, and it also gets you something that's time. With that time, you're actually going to do a better job being able to assess the lower fidelity possible pattern detection things across the wealth of data, like Anton's saying, you still have access to. So that's been a common narrative that we hear from our customers is like when with the platform and quality partner and vendors in place, we can make better decisions more quickly. We are more confident in the decisions we make. We're more confident in the defense strategy we have in place. I actually have capacity to go and produce more strategic thinking. I actually have capacity to write PIRs. I actually have capacity to not just make sure the signatures and indicators from Group IB's incidents are deployed. I have capacity to understand the last 6, 12, 30 over the last 30, 60, 90 days and see if I can detect a pattern emerging that I need to talk to my leadership about. Like it's a great question because it reveals the larger answer of a focus on higher fidelity actually gets you both. If we try to understand everything and action everything all at once, you get neither. But if you action the higher confidence first, you gain a kind of a metaphorical safe space to then go and include research and understanding of the broader data picture.
Sounds good. Thank you, James. So just to kind of echo back what I'm hearing then from that question of, how do we avoid the blind spots? The answer is generally keep the data lake, right? I think that we talked a lot about, the alerting as the barrier to make sure that stuff in your data lake doesn't go out there, and using good filters, using good incident focused searches in order to get things going there. Okay, folks, we are at 2 minutes to the hour, and this is a Brian Goodrow run meeting, so it's going to end on time. Unfortunately, we don't have any time for any last questions here, but I do just want to give one last huge thank you to Anastasia, to Anton for joining us from Group IB, our trusted partners who we love, and again, I trust with my life, with my family, with my children that I don't have. And then, of course, James Nixon, who I also trust with all those things, maybe a little bit less from the Analyst One side. This has been a lot of fun. I hope that anyone who viewed this live had a great time. And for those watching on the recording, why didn't you show up? This has been a great conversation, so I'll pop it up now. Any last closing comments in the last 60 seconds from our lovely guests?
That's a round of applause to you, Brian. Thanks a lot for this beautiful hosting. And we really do have the same feelings to Analyst One and you personally, Brian, and you, James. We hope that this partnership really brings the value to our customers in the future. We are going and moving that way. So thanks a lot for this webinar happening.
Absolutely.
Same from my side, guys. It was a pleasure to speak with you today. I like to chit chat about threats, and this was an amazing conversation, I would say.
All right.
Just thank you very much. Appreciate the chance to have a conversation together. Bye.
And thank you for me. Thank you all, everyone. That'll be it for us today.